nostalgic.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, Nerd Lair. What's up guys, Sean from the Nerd Lair here. Thanks for tuning into this video, and it's my 32nd birthday, woo! And since I'm starting to become old-aged, I decided it's finally time to invest in an Arcade1Up cabinet because reasons. And as we all know, you can't be a real retro gaming YouTube channel unless you own at least one of these in your game room. I think the reason why I bought this one is because, one, I really like old Star Wars. I hate new Star Wars, I hate everything about new Star Wars. I'm actually more of a Star Trek guy anyway, but they don't have a Star Trek cabinet, so I went with this one. Plus, it has a really unique controller outside of the joystick and the buttons that most of the other ones have. And the Atari Star Wars games, for me, have that retro aesthetic arcade nostalgia that is pure mid-80s. I've never seen or messed around with any of them aside from the store model that I always see in Walmart, and that one's usually the Pac-Man or Galaga one. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at this and see if it's awesome, which it is, but we're still gonna take a look at it.
This is the Star Wars Arcade1Up cabinet. This thing is covered in amazing art from Star Wars. We have Darth Vader, TIE fighters, and an X-Wing on both sides. This cabinet is equipped with 3 different Star Wars Atari arcade games. We have Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, all of which were spruced up by the developers called Code Mystics. Like I mentioned earlier, the controller for this cabinet is not like most others in the Arcade1Up lineup, with handle grips and triggers that would not be a far cry from something you might find in an actual X-Wing ship. It rotates left and right for turning, and the grips move up and down for altitude. There's also 2 triggers and 2 thumb buttons on each handle for firing. Rotating the controller and moving the handles up and down feel pretty smooth. The only gripe that I have is that the plastic that's used for the triggers and the thumb buttons feels kind of cheap. It almost feels like if you were to put too much pressure on the trigger buttons while pressing them, you might break them. Directly above the controller, there's 2 switches, one for turning the unit on and off, and another for volume. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't a dedicated reset button, but if you hold all 4 of the trigger buttons down on the controller for 5 seconds, it restarts you to the main menu, which that's better than just turning it on and off and having to wait for the thing to boot up. Probably my favorite feature of this cabinet is the light-up marquee. Not all of the Arcade1Up machines have these, and it was another reason why I wanted this particular unit. It's the cherry on top of this machine, and it gives a little bit more authenticity to the nostalgia factor. But how do the games play? Well, the first 2 games, Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, are pretty similar in look as far as graphics. Again, for the nostalgia aspect of this, the graphics are amazing because it uses vector graphics, which are wireframes that give the illusion of 3 dimensions. There's also multiple different settings that you can customize and tinker with before you start each title, such as changing the style of the vector graphics. You can have scan lines, you can take them away, you can give yourself extra lives or extra shields. It's all really nice. Code Mystics did an amazing job with this. The first 2 titles, Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, all focus around first-person flight simulation. You'll be flying through space, shooting down TIE fighters, making your way to the Death Star. And of course, there's that Death Star level where we get to shoot the sweet spot and watch it explode. Next is The Empire Strikes Back. This level takes place during the battle on Hoth, where you're flying a T-47 airspeeder, shooting your harpoons and tow cables at AT-AT walkers. And just like in the movie, it's super fun to watch and very satisfying when you do it. And that brings us to the third and final game, Return of the Jedi. The first level takes place in the forests of Endor. You play as Princess Leia on a speeder bike getting chased by stormtroopers. You'll notice that the graphics for this game are 8-bit. You can speed up and slow down and also shoot. It's super satisfying to speed through the forest weaving in and out of the trees. Ewoks will also be throughout the forest setting up traps, and if you fly through one while you're getting chased, the stormtrooper will explode. There are different levels within this game where you play as different characters that are in different scenarios, but I'm not really here to review these games in depth. If you want to play them, just emulate them. Going back to the exterior of the cabinet, there's a lot to love here. All of the artwork that surrounds the controller and the LCD screen are meant to look like you're in a cockpit, which is really satisfying and a nice little touch. And this particular Arcade1Up unit came included with a 1-foot riser because these things are kind of short, and if you're someone who's over 6 foot like myself, you're gonna have some back problems if you're trying to play this game without one. And the riser itself is adorned with more TIE Fighter artwork and a Star Wars logo on the front. Another cool thing about the Star Wars unit is that Arcade1Up actually came out with a specific bench that goes with this, so you can actually feel like you're in a cockpit like the original arcade unit. So it's really cool to see Arcade1Up putting out stuff like this to make it more authentic.
And that's pretty much it for this arcade cabinet. I would have to say that I'm really satisfied with it. For $399 plus shipping, and you get the riser with it, that's a great deal. It took me about 45 minutes to set this thing up by myself, and it was really easy. The instructions were, paint by numbers. As a kid, I always wanted to own my own arcade cabinet. I think all kids that were into video games eventually wanted an arcade cabinet for themselves, and Arcade1Up actually made that possible for a lot of people, because the original arcade cabinets are super expensive, and if you don't have a lot of money to spend, these are your next best bet, and it's definitely worth the price tag. I would say if you're in the market for getting an arcade cabinet, go with Arcade1Up for your first one, and then maybe you can branch out into something a little bit more expensive or niche that they don't make yet. I would have to say that my 32nd birthday was a success. I'm really happy with this thing, and I can't wait to get more. Let me know down in the comments section which Arcade1Up cabinet you would want them to make, or which one is out now that you really want. I think the next one I want to get is the NBA Jam one, because I just found out that it has online capabilities, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to get me a birthday present, just like and subscribe to the channel. It's 2 clicks away. That would mean a lot to me, and I do stuff like this every week, so if you enjoyed this video, you're probably gonna like the rest of the stuff on my channel that I do. And with a classic credit crawl like in the Star Wars movies, I would like to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon supporters who will be on screen momentarily. Don't forget, I have merch. If you guys want to check out my new Nerd Lair t-shirt design, link is down below in the description. Here's what it looks like. And if you want to check out my Patreon and pledge $1 a month to get a shout out like these guys got, link is also down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time in the Nerd Lair. Stay nostalgic.